This is Debbie with Westgate, and today we're going to go through the 12 tenses of a regular verb in English. And as an example, we'll use the verb work. In the simple present, which is the tense we're going to use most often, we'll just say work. And simple present is something that expresses something I do regularly. It's not necessarily something I'm doing at the moment. So the term present can be a little misleading. So for example, I could say, I work on the computer every day. That doesn't mean I'm working on it right now, but it's just something I do regularly. And if we wanted to put it in a question, we might ask, do you work with computers? So there's your simple present. Simple past is worked, and with a regular verb, remember, you take the root of the verb and put on ed. So this is something that you've done or already did, and you're not doing any longer. Examples and sentences would sound like this. When I first finished college, I worked at a bank. What about you? I worked as a nanny for 3 years. Then I worked for a law firm. And now I work as a lawyer. And so the person at the end of this sentence here went into the present tense, so they could tell us what they are doing at the moment. So we changed tenses there for you. Now if we look at the simple future, again you'll keep the root of the verb work and just simply put will in front of it. And this expresses something that you will do soon or in the future. You have not done it yet. So usually there's a time period referenced somewhere early in the sentence, as we see right here with the word when. When she finishes the dishes, she will work on her homework. What are you going to do? I will probably work, and we just put an adverb in front of work, but I will work, probably work, on my art project. If I finish that, I will work with Anna on some math problems. Now we're going to move into the next layer of tenses, which are called the continuous tenses. And present continuous is actually the tense that we use to express what we're doing at the moment. Like right now, I am recording on the computer. Okay, so that's something I'm actually actively doing. Here are some examples. I'm working in the garage. What are you doing? There's continuous, are doing. So you got the two verbs in there. What are you doing in there? I'm sweeping the floor and cleaning the walls. Past continuous, we're going to take the root of the word, work, put on ing, and we're going to put a helping verb in front of it. So we'll use was because it's past tense, just like present continuous had is. Past tense we'll use was because was is a past tense helping verb. And this tells someone what you were doing at a particular time but are now done with. So we will say something like this. What were you doing when I called yesterday? And then I would tell that person, I was working on a rough draft of my essay, but then Mary called and I decided, regular past, to get coffee instead. What were you doing? The past continuous question here is asking what they were doing yesterday, but they are no longer doing right now. I was calling you, silly. No, seriously, I was just watching TV, okay? By putting that word was in there, we know the activity's already over. And last in the continuous is the future continuous. We'll take the root of the word work again. Because it's continuous, we'll put the ing, and it's future, will, and we need an extra verb too. I will be working. Will working just is idiomatically not correct. So we need two helping verbs in front of the gerund or the ing form of the verb work. Will be working. And we'll use this tense if someone wants to know what I will eventually do in the future at a specific time again. So you're going to see a time reference likely in this sentence as well, because I need to know its relation to the future. So I will be working at Smith & Wesson. Here's my time reference. By the time you finish your degree. What will you be doing next week when we are in the mountains? There's your other time reference. I will be working on a proposal for my clients when they are in the mountains. Okay, so there's the time reference just inferred from the previous sentence. Okay, now we're going to look at the perfect tenses. And if we're in the present tense, and this may be a little confusing because we're going to take the root of the word and add ed, kind of like you would with the past tense, but we're going to put the word have in front of it. So this is worth taking a little bit of time to look at, because this will confuse a lot of people, calling it a perfect tense with a past tense word worked. So as it says here, it's suggesting something that began in the past, but it's still active right now, and that's why it's called the present tense. So it started a long time ago, but it's still occurring. So here we go. Rebecca has worked for 3 different lawyers. She is probably still working for the third one. That's the assumption I get here, because of the past, the present perfect here. I, on the other hand, have worked for only one law firm, and that indicates that I'm still working there because it's the present perfect tense. Nice. I have never worked at a law firm, but I think it would be very interesting. Okay, now if we look at the future perfect, let me see if I put in past perfect. I did, sorry, we skipped that. Okay, past perfect, had worked. So instead of have, which is a present tense helping verb, we're going to use a past tense helping verb. I had worked on the paper for 6 hours before I turned it in. So this one tells me that there are 2 things that happened in the past, and we'll use the past perfect for the event that occurred first. So it's like the older event. So the person worked 6 hours, that was in the past, and also in the past is that she turned it in, he or she turned it in, but the working on it occurred first. That's how the past perfect helps us. It places the events the 2 past events in relationship to each other. Now on to the future perfect. Will have worked. So it looks like we've got past perfect here, have and worked, but with the future combined in. So it's telling somebody about something I'm going to complete in the future once something else happens first. That's what the perfect tenses are ideal for, is expressing 2 past events, and you use the perfect verb form on the oldest one and just your regular past tense on the second one. So, I will have worked on this book for 6 months, here's the regular past, before it is finished. This happened first in the past. I will have worked on it for 6 months. That's the oldest thing. Then at some point I'm going to finish, but that happens after this occurs. And I will have heard you talk about your book 1,000 times before you complete it. Same structure as the sentence before. Okay, our last tense is still the perfect tenses, but they're the perfect continuous tenses. To be honest, we don't often use these a lot, so if this is where it starts getting confusing, a lot of times you can use one of the other tenses to express the same idea. But it's good to go over these because you'll read them in books and you'll hear native speakers use them all the time. But there are ways around using them yourself if you find them difficult. Okay, I have been working. See how it's continuous? Continuous always shows up with the ing. with Martha for over 5 years. So it's continuous because of the ing, and we get the present perfect because of the have been, and it assumes I'm still doing this because it's continuous. Wow, well, I just realized that I have been working with you for 3 years now, and the assumption is we are still working together. Okay, if we looked at past continuous, past perfect continuous, we're going to have the past had, been, which is because of the perfect tense, and then the continuous with the ing. And again, it's placing two things in relationship with each other, but they're still occurring, or they still were happening at the same time. That's what the continuous ing is for. I had been working at McDonald's when I discovered that I wanted to be a vegetarian. So there's your regular past, and there's your past perfect continuous here. Oh, I had been working at the natural food store when I discovered that I preferred the vegetarian lifestyle. So this person was still working in the past when the second thing occurred. Same here. This person still was working at McDonald's when the other past event occurred. That's why it's continuous. And very lastly, we have the future perfect continuous. And this one is rarely used. I will use it sometimes, but younger people don't typically use the future perfect continuous. They will simplify. In fact, I'm going to tell you how they would say it when I'm done with this. You'll see this more in literature. So it's going to tell of something that will start in the future and will continue until another event occurs. So I will have been working for over 40 years. Okay, so this person has not worked for 40 years yet. They're projecting into the future. I will have been working for over 40 years before I am eligible for retirement. There's the other time requirement that has to happen before the future event, and it's continuous because of the ing. So to be honest, here's what most people are going to say. They'll say, wow, I'm going to have to work for 40 years before I can retire. Or I will have to work 40 years before I'm eligible for retirement. So there are many ways to get around future perfect continuous. Just FYI, don't stress out too much. Hope this helped, and we'll see you next time.